and what is the problem, and that is the bonds. They need to be sold, but at this point, they have not been, and so the question is, why haven't they been sold, despite the fact that they've been given an A1 rating, which is a good and marketable rating. The only issue with an A1 rating should have been what the interest rate is, 4.5%, 5%, 6%, and that should have seen the bonds gobbled up. So you have to ask yourself, what is the problem? And in short, the Goldwater Institute has placed a cloud on the bonds. They have threatened to challenge the legality of the Holsizer Glendale transactions and the bonds themselves. And based on what we have been told by the bond underwriters, the market for these bonds, solely because of the Goldwater threat, has been impacted. Now, I'm not intimately familiar with the Goldwater Institute, but it has become extremely clear to me that the Goldwater Institute can be very obstructionist. In light of their conduct in this matter, I question whether this is really an organization that is concerned with the public interest, despite a mission statement that calls for expanding free enterprise and support for the public interest. I quite frankly don't know who the people there report to or are accountable to, but it fascinates me that whoever is running the Goldwater Institute can actually substitute their judgment for that of the Glendale City Council by, in effect, overturning a duly enacted resolution of the city and one that was enacted in public session. The Glendale City Council decided to save Jobbing.com Arena, to save Westgate, to save businesses and jobs, and perhaps even save the city by entering into a transaction that keeps this building alive. The city is on the hook one way or the other, so it was not irrational for the council to make this determination. Goldwater obviously has another view, and whether you think it's motivated because they think they've been insulted by the city, their latest media release this weekend alluded to that again, or whether they just think they know better. But that really isn't the issue. Without actually filing a lawsuit, Goldwater is managing to have its way simply by threatening. I'm not sure that they even think they have a good lawsuit. We are told that 2 independent law firms looked at this and said the transaction is legal under Arizona law. Interestingly, again, I find it curious as to how the Goldwater Institute does business. I requested a meeting with Darcy Olson and was told no, but I could have a joint news conference. This situation is far too serious for such game playing. Again, I hope that those to whom those at the Goldwater Institute are accountable are paying attention. Nevertheless, my hope is that somehow Goldwater and Glendale can find a way to get this done promptly. So where does this leave us? We're not yet done, we haven't given up, and we're not giving up. For anyone suggesting that we're not still committed to Glendale, you have not been following what we have done for the past 2 years, and our commitment remains as strong as ever. But time is running out, and we're getting close to the end. I will not today say when the end is, and I will not today set a deadline, but at some point we may have no choice but to begin pursuing our other alternatives. Most simply stated, this situation must be resolved. I'm happy to take questions. Or not.
What do you think the resolution will be with Goldwater? How do you create a situation where the 2 sides come together?
I am told by everybody I've spoken to in the last 72 hours that there have been numerous meetings over the last few months, that there have been thousands of pages of documents produced answering all their questions, and frankly, I think it's time for Goldwater to stand down, because based on everything we're hearing, this seems to be a leverage play more than anything else. The other plan is to continue to pursue the sale of the bonds, which I think could get very expensive. And the result of that will be, if Goldwater actually believes it is to be helping taxpayers, driving up the cost of doing business isn't helping taxpayers, it's only going to cost taxpayers in the city more money. So I'm hoping that everybody can reason together and get this behind them.
Are you guys looking at tweaking the deal at all, changing the amount of the bonds, the asking price, how much Holzhauser is putting in?
That's not for us. That's between Mr. Holzhauser and the city. And my understanding, based on some media report I saw today, is they were not focused on changing the terms of the deal.
You view it as an insult almost that Institute refuses to meet with the NHL one-on-one?
I don't get insulted easily, but I do think it's just indicative of the way they do business to suggest, instead of a meeting, a joint press conference is game playing at best, and I don't even know what at worst. I mean, I'm not sure how an organization functions and gets away with it, doing things like that.
Gary, if you believe in the deal and you understand it to be legal, why not meet with them in any forum?
I'm sorry?
If you believe in the deal, you believe it's legal, why not meet with them in any forum?
I was looking to get a sensible business meeting report. The Glendale City Council met in open session. Last time I checked last week, the Goldwater Institute didn't hold its board meeting in public session. I mean, if they're serious about doing business, there are ways to do it. And if you're looking to play games or create media events, I'm not buying into that.
You say you think they're trying to get some kind of leverage? Leverage to do what?
Tough it out. If I set a deadline, then they just try and tough it out until they can kill the transaction. See, I'm not sure that they even think that they have a bona fide lawsuit. But the longer they can perpetuate this and cloud the bond market, the more likely that for whatever motivation they have, that they get their way. So without having tested in court.
Their director has said their main question revolves around who owns the land.
I am told by the lawyers that looked at it that there is no question to that at all, and that the documentation is clear.
So
that I am told that that's a smokescreen.
Do you believe Goldwater has the documentation showing that in their hands right now?
I am told that their questions were answered.
On that part?
I'm not, remember, I haven't dealt with Goldwater, they don't talk to me.
In terms of the deadline, are we talking about weeks?
I'm not going to set a deadline. I'm not going to encourage anybody to try and tough it out to the deadline.
Gary,
but there will come a point in time where we can't hold on any longer. And that's obvious when you look at the things we have to do to get ready for next season.
Gary, as you're well aware, people in Winnipeg are following this story closely. Does the league have options beyond Winnipeg?
We have options, but I'm not going to discuss what those options are, because the options that we're going to continue to pursue right now are here. We are obviously aware of the interest in Winnipeg. We are greatly appreciative of that interest, but I don't want to say or do anything that raises expectations. I don't think that's fair.
Gary, if you don't think the Goldwater Institute's motivation, stated motivation, is legitimate, what do you think is legitimate?
I don't know. I haven't been able to talk to them, but I'm looking at this from 2,000 miles. I'm getting reports from underwriters, from the city, from the prospective purchaser, and at the end of the day, there's one thing that's stopping this transaction from going forward, and that has impeded it. I don't know why they sent the letters to the bond rating agencies. I don't know why they sent letters to prospective investors trying to chill the marketplace. And there doesn't seem to be any level of accountability here. And if, in fact, we get to the point where we would have to pack things up and leave, and it was happening without even a lawsuit, then whether or not they actually had the goods to support what they were saying, we'll never know.
Would you be opposed to Glendale pursuing a lawsuit against Goldwater now or in the near future to get this deal moving along?
It's not my call. That's our ownership. This franchise will be fine under the terms of the arrangements that can be put into place if the deal closes. I think we have the right owner, the right circumstances. I think the economy is coming back here. And I believe that this franchise, well run, will do fine.
Did Goldwater's letters to underwriters and bond ratings agencies really chill the market? Because the media coverage of their threat of a lawsuit was widespread.
Well, except I think they were chilling the market before the media knew about it. I mean, they were writing letters to the bonding rating agencies and to prospective investors. I actually saw somebody quoted as saying that they don't think they'd seen that 4 times in the last 30 or 40 years. It was a rather unusual step, so I understand.
Except that it was clear Goldwater could sue way before
But they haven't
sent
sued,
those letters.
which is fascinating. They haven't sued. All they've done is sat back and said, we're thinking, we believe, we might. You know, it's kind of interesting that they haven't been put to proof.
Gary, you said you've got 2 legal opinions of the deal.
I didn't say that. I said I'm advised
You've been advised.
that the 2 independent law firms look at it.
Okay, is it possible for you to get a legal ruling that would take the chill off the bond market that says these aren't going to be challenged in court because they're legal?
I suppose somebody, it wouldn't be for us to do, somebody might think about bringing declaratory judgment action, but that could take time. And
Too much time?
Perhaps.
So Gary,
Being obstructionist seems to be the way to chill this transaction, unfortunately. And the city and Mr. Holsheiser are gonna have to see if they can figure out a way to do this to get around the obstructionist nature of what's happened.
If they reduce the amount of the bonds, the city of Holzhauer agrees to do that, does that lift some of the shadow of the lawsuit because then it doesn't violate the gift clause?
I'm not in a position to talk about how this transaction might or might not, if it will modify, change the dynamics of the transaction. The deals have been struck, and there's only one thing left to do, to close them, and make sure that this team is here, that this building is open, and that the jobs and businesses attendant to what goes on here stick around.
so is there no way Glendale would sell these bonds at 9%?
You're
They're
not-
authorized to sell them at 9%.
You need to ask Glendale that question. It's not a question for me to answer.
You haven't asked them that?
If I have, it's for them to answer.
So what brought you here today, Andrea? What are you hoping to achieve?
Just an update as to where things stand, and give everyone an understanding that this needs to get done, if it's gonna get done.
What prompted it now rather than any other game in the past week or so?
Fit it to my schedule, timing seems to be right. I mean, I don't account for my wife in terms of work with as much detail as you're asking.
Gary, not to follow up on that one, but who did you meet with today?
I met with the mayor, the deputy mayor, city manager, the front office staff, and the coaching staff and some of the players.
Are you concerned all the more public this fight gets, the more Goldwater will dig their heels in because it becomes a media fight back and forth?
It is what it is. Clearly, Goldwater likes it as a media spectacle. That's why, I suppose, that's the reason they asked to have a meeting that was going to be a media spectacle as opposed to a business meeting.
So if they called you tonight and said, come on over tomorrow, you.
I have meetings tomorrow back in New York. I'm out of town. I was here and they had noticed we were coming. If they want to come to New York, I'll be happy to meet with them anytime they want. Without the meeting.
So you see a way to negotiate this deal? Would that be the purpose of your meeting with them?
I didn't say that.
Well, I'm wondering what the purpose of a meeting with them would be.
Get an update, see where things stand.
So the letter yesterday or the day before isn't enough of an update?
Well, but
The statement they put out,
you like to talk in cryptic things that only you know about. I don't know what you're talking about.
you didn't see the statement they put out the other day?
Who put out?
Goldwater put out a statement a day or two ago,
Yeah, I saw that.
but that wasn't enough to explain their position to you.
I would like to always have an opportunity to have a business meeting with somebody and have a conversation that isn't obviously a position paper for the media.
Why are you worried about public scrutiny of this meeting?
I'm not looking to have a press event. I was looking to have a business meeting. I'm not worried about public scrutiny about anything, but I'm not the issue for the Goldwater Institute. I'm ultimately gonna have some decisions to make. I'm trying to get a sense of the likelihood as to how this is, whether or not and how this can get done, and I'd also like to understand why they think that this is a problem when apparently nobody else does.
If they were to file a lawsuit now,
Who's they?
Goldwater Institute, couldn't they just run out the clock too? I mean, obviously something would get resolved immediately if they file a lawsuit.
They've never filed a lawsuit all along. my guess is, if they thought they had a bona fide lawsuit, they would have filed it a long time ago.
If the deal is so secure, if Glendale's dotted the i's and crossed the t's so that it doesn't violate the Arizona gift clause, why are investors worried? I mean,
Because the threat, if you're an investor and you can buy municipal bonds from lots and lots of municipalities, limitless, why would you buy something if you think there's even the slightest risk that it may be challenged and undone? It is the threat that is the problem. You can buy lots of bonds for similar interest rates that don't have the threat. And my guess is Goldwater knows that, and that's why they made the threat.
Does this surprise you how this kind of played out? Because